Hi and welcome. This is Kelly here with your Yin Restorative class. Today we're going to be focusing on hip openers. We're going to be using 2 blankets as well as our bolster or a pillow. You can grab a couch cushion or a nice firm pillow. You want something a little bit more sturdy than just your regular pillow that you use to sleep on. So gather your props and we'll meet on the mat in just a moment. When you get there, we're going to start in a child's position today. So if you prefer to have a blanket under the knees to support, you'll lay that blanket out nice and flat. Make sure it's about the width of your mat. And then we're going to use our bolster to come right in between the top of the thighs. So if you come to restorative class, you know this pose well. It's a lot of people's favorites. This is how we're going to start our practice today. When you're ready, just walk the hands forward. Bring all the way from the belly down to the chest, or up to the chest, down towards your bolster. Wiggle those hips side to side. Let them settle back towards the heels. And then check in and see what feels good for you. You can turn either cheek to one side. Let the eyes close. Let the hands melt towards the floor. And we'll just begin to focus on the breath. Letting go completely. Feel the entire body supported in this position. Letting go of that effort. Just coming to a place of ease and relaxation. You may notice the need to fidget or adjust as you get settled, and that's perfectly fine. But trying to find that sense of stillness, whether it's in the mind, whether it's in the body, we're trying to come to that place of stillness. There, when we find stillness, is when we allow the breath to get slower, making those inhales slightly longer, exhale slightly longer. Good. And then notice what happens in the mind as you slow the breath down. See if those racing thoughts, the plans, the lists of things to do start to slow down as well. That may or may not happen, but eventually the more you practice this style of yoga, it will become easier to get to that place of ease, finding that release in the body and the mind. We'll take 3 more breath cycles. And as you're ready, start to blink open the eyes. We'll slide the hands a little closer to the body and gently peel your way up off of your bolster. Good. Check in here. Just give the head and neck a little movement. Roll the shoulders back and down. And then we're going to slide our pillow or our bolster out of the way. Come up onto the hands and knees. If those knees need a little stretch, then just extend one leg back, push through the heel. And we'll do the other side. And then we'll come all the way back to our tabletop position, and we'll start to move in and out of a cat-cow. So inhale nice and slow as you pull the chest forward, root down into the hands. And then exhale, round. Try to do this movement a little slower than normal, really taking your time to notice every little intricate aspect of the movement. And maybe that second or third time around, you notice you're able to go slightly deeper, find a little pause at the end of that full extension, at the end of your full exhale or your full inhale. Keep the movement fairly fluid. Move through our last cat-cow. Returning back to a neutral spine, and we'll start to move into some hip circles. So we're starting off with just some fluid movement, getting into those hips. We're going to bring the hips back to the right heel. Good. We're going to sweep them to the right, like you're drawing a nice big circle around your mat. Push into those hands, get a little stretch in the wrists, and then sweep them back to the left heel. Good. So we'll start to move with the breath. Inhale as you reach forward and to the right, and exhale as you reach back and to the left. And you're going to start to feel that the further you let those hips fall to the sides of the mat, the deeper you'll get that stretch down through the outer hip into the outer edge of the leg. You might even hear some snap, crackle, pops in the knees. That's all normal. We'll take one more in this same direction. Pause when those hips get back. Find a little child's pose. See if you can get a little bit more extension in the arms. And then we'll switch to the other side. So we'll bring those hips forward and to the left. And then start to move back and to the right. Good. Notice what feels different about this side. Good. Or moving in this direction. Anytime you notice an intense sensation, that is a sign to breathe, especially as we get into some of these deeper hip openers throughout class. Always make sure you are breathing. If you're ever holding the breath, that's a sign to pause, come out of the pose, and come back in when you're ready. 2 more here. And then we'll reach those hips back towards the heels. Again, find child's pose. You can widen out the knees again. Walk the fingertips forward and then lay the forearms down. The head can come down, but it does not have to. And we'll take 2 or 3 breaths here. If you want a little bit more of an extension through the triceps, the back of the arms, you can grab the fingers or just bring the palms together and let them rest around the back of the head. Last one. When you're ready, we'll release those hands down, slowly lift up, and coming up into our tabletop position. So go ahead and grab your bolster. You're going to bring it to the top left corner of your mat. Good. And then we'll go ahead and bring the hands up onto the bolster. If you need a little bit more height, you can always turn it up higher, or your pillow, and swing that right leg out to the side, sweep it across the floor until it comes to that top right corner of the mat. Your blanket is down, so that back knee stays down, and then we're going to lean the hips forward. Check in on that right knee, and notice if your foot doesn't go out far enough and your knee goes past the ankle, we do not want to do that. We want to make sure our leg is reaching out, so you can even use the hand and guide it forward. Good. Before we go really deep, we want to make sure this back left leg is extended as far as possible. Get into that. Here, you may need to come up a little higher, so you could use just your elbows up in this direction. You may need to turn your bolster up and you kind of just use it to sit up nice and tall. Or you might come really low and try to bring the belly and the chest down towards the bolster. As you do that, depending on your body and what feels okay for you, you can also let this right knee fall open, rolling to the pinky edge of the feet. My foot is opening up. Good. Finding the space that works for you. This is an intense pose, so a little movement, swaying side to side, can make it just slightly more bearable. Good. Always remembering the breath. So the breath allows us to soften, come back to that place of ease. Good. We'll take a little bit more time here. So seeing if you can maybe bring the head down to something as a little support. You can use those thumbs. We're feeling two areas of that deep stretch. The outer edge of the right hip, that's the leg that's forward, as well as the front of the back left hip. Good. Stay with it. As I usually remind my students in class, the pose starts the moment you want to leave it. So seeing if you can hold on, of course acknowledging pain in the body, any sharp shooting sensations we always want to listen to. But those more subtle deep stretches that can be softened with the breath is what gives us that space and long-term flexibility in the body. One more full inhale. Feel free to sigh out your exhale. Come up to the hands. Good. And then we're going to extend this right leg, a half split position, just to find a little opening. You can wiggle those hips side to side. Good. From here, we'll lengthen the chest forward, inhale. Slide your bolster out of the way slightly so that you can bend to the knee and start to toe heel the foot across your mat. You're going to go all the way to the other side, and then you're going to grab your other blanket, bring it to the outer edge of that hip. So you'll see my hip is going to come down to that blanket. I'm going to lay my knee down, and then I'm going to gather that blanket directly under my right hip. Fold it up as much as you need to come up to the butt. Good. Inhale, we're in our pigeon pose. So that right shin can be aligned up with the back edge of the bolster, or it might start to tuck under the body. Good. That just depends on your body. Back knee is supported and the top of the foot is down. We'll inhale to create length. And you may notice that this feels a little bit more intense than usual because we just did that outer hip stretch and we're getting it again with our pigeon pose. Inhale. And then exhale, we'll bring the chest down. Maybe the head comes down. You can rest completely here. If you need more space, bring the floor to you. Lift up on the bolster. Good. Here in this position, we're trying to find that balance between bringing ourselves, requiring a little effort to bring ourselves into that deep stretch, and then letting go completely, letting that ease just wash over the body. We're going to be here for a few moments, so finding that middle ground. We don't want to come into the deepest posture ever, right off from the beginning. As with a lot of hip openers, it gets slightly more intense the longer we stay there. So we want to make sure the pose is sustainable. In other styles of yoga, we practice popping into a pose, even if it's just for a moment. That helps build strength and stability in the body. But here we're really trying to find that sense of sustainability. Can we relax into the pose for an extended period of time? That allows our body to truly release. And take 3 more complete breaths. Maybe finding a little space at the end of your inhale and a space at the end of the exhale to truly lengthen out. When you're ready, we're going to move nice and slow, trying to keep that sense of peace you've helped cultivate in the body and mind. Slide your bolster forward. As you come up, we'll lift the hip up off that back blanket. And then you're going to slide your back knee forward in order to undo the pose. Take your time as you extend that right leg back. You may want to circle the knee around, maybe reach it open. Find some movement, and that movement may feel pretty intense at first. And then you can also take those hips back towards the right heel, kind of like we did for our hip circles. Take an inhale, and then exhale. We'll come all the way back up to our tabletop position. Good. We're going to move through the poses on the other side. So we'll start off with the bolster at that top right corner of our mat. We're going to take the left leg out to the side, swing it forward, and bring it up to that top left corner. Good. Hands come up onto the bolster for a little extra support at any height. And then we'll take that right knee, tuck the back toe under, and slide it back a little bit, seeing if you can get slightly deeper in that lunge. Both arms are on the inside of the knee. Kind of see that knee's now hidden by my arm. And then we're going to pull the heart forward as we lift up to create that space. Inhale. So of course you can be here, just staying on the arms. You could bring the forearms down here, maybe rest the head. Good, great options. If you want to go deeper, let the knee fall open in order to give you that space. So maybe the bolster and pillow come all the way down and you let the inside edge of the foot open, knee falls open, little twist in the hip, and then you can bring the chest down. Good. Feel free to bring the whole head down, wherever you need to be to find that space. As you get into the pose, a little gentle movement. Not pulsing in and out of the pose, but just to find that place of ease. And then always coming back to the breath. Notice what's happening in the mind. So are you already planning, bringing all of that effort up into the head to figure out how you're going to do the next 2 poses for an extended period of time? Or can you just be with the sensations, bringing that awareness more into the actual physical body, into the gut, into the belly, and know that after being in these postures, we'll have that sense of ease and opening. Taking your time here, making any adjustments as long as they're intentional. So not moving just for the sake of movement, but making each adjustment give those adjustments a purpose each time. About 3 more complete breaths where you are. Equal amount of effort on the inhale as well as the exhale. All right, slowly drawing up. Hands come down. Okay. We're going to point the toes forward first. So hug that knee into the arm, and then extend the hips back, finding that half split position. Good. Left leg is going to straighten as much as it can. One more big inhale and exhale. Of course, you can sigh out anything that feels stuck or stagnant. And then we'll bring that left leg forward to bend. Grab your blanket. That's going to come to the outer edge of the left hip. Good. Bolster slides out of the way slightly so you can start to toe heel this foot across the mat. Good. Once it gets there, lay the whole shin down. Good. So again, you can have this leg more parallel with the edge of the bolster, or you might need to tuck it under so the toes are kind of pointing towards that back corner of the mat. Choose where you need to be for your body. If you feel any tension in that front knee, then flex the foot. Yeah. Nice job. All right. Squeeze that blanket in to support the left hip. Push up into the hands, lengthen the spine, straighten out the head and neck, and then slowly begin to lower down any amount. You may just come down to the forearms, or you can lay all the way down. Good. Here we'll just begin to soften. At any point, you need to adjust that back knee, use the back toe, and then remember to release the top of the foot back down. See if you can use the ease of the breath to soften some of the areas of the body. So the muscles of the face, the neck and shoulders. And we use these intense postures to teach us what happens when any intensity comes up in our day-to-day lives. So you may be experiencing that during this time, a new rhythm, new challenges, maybe not able to handle things the way you once did. So are you able to soften and let go? Or are you holding all of those expectations, kind of resisting against that change? And causing more tension in the mind and body. Of course, this posture is only for a few minutes. Some of the larger things we're experiencing right now can be much more serious, but they can give us a little sense of reflection to how we handle those larger challenges and obstacles in our life. Take about 3 more complete breath cycles. And when you're ready, slowly walking your way up. Good. Moving out nice and slow. So we'll slide that back knee in slightly. Move your blanket out of the way. Good. Swing your left leg back. Coming into a tabletop position. And again, any movement you need here, you can let that left leg extend back. You can open up the hip. Circle it around a little bit. All right, coming into one more posture on our hands and knees. This is frog pose. I'm going to show you 2 ways to do it. So one is using the friction of the mat to keep ourselves from kind of sliding out too much. And the other is just letting us slide on the floor. So depending on where you're practicing, if you're on carpet, it's going to be a little bit harder, but you'll have more cushion. So just do what you need. So the first, you're going to have your bolster out in front of you and 2 blankets on the sides. Good. As you set yourself up, 1 knee on each side, your bolster is out in front. And then what you want to do is turn your toes to point out to the side. Good. Most of our weight is going to be in the hands, kind of leaning forward. Okay. Take an inhale. Start to let the knees slide out. And then you can bring just the elbows down. Good. Once you get into the really deep part of the posture, you want to pull the hips back just a couple inches, and then you're really going to feel it. So take your time. Whenever you get into that deep position, that's when we work on that breath. Feel free to stay there if you want to go a little deeper. Just slide those blankets a little bit more forward so they're not stuck on your mat. We'll set up the knees, and then as you get set up, you can start to slide out. Good. Bring your belly down, the head down, and then just turn one cheek all the way to your bolster. Good. As you're here in this position, again, those hips reaching not to the heels, but you want to try to keep the hips in line with the knees, and then the knees in line with the ankles, as you can see on my posture. We don't want to get to the point where our feet are kind of pulling together. Good. Here, we'll just let go of the breath, let go of any expectations we have of our body in the shape of what it should or shouldn't do. And just be here. Of course, acknowledging pain in the body. Listening if you need a little extra support under the knees. As you spend a few moments here, you may notice the ability to slide out a little more, especially if you're on the floor. So doing that as you're ready. Three more complete breath cycles. Good. There's a couple ways to come out here. So of course you can squeeze those legs back in, but if that doesn't feel quite right for you, you're going to slide forward and then let those legs start to straighten and come together. It's a little awkward to come out of. When you're ready, we'll come all the way back up onto the mat. We're going to grab one of our blankets, fold it in half, and come to sit on the front folded edge. Good. The other blanket you can just have off to the side, and then bolster or pillow you can move out of the way. Good. As you come to sit, take a moment to just get settled, make sure the sit bones are to that front edge. And then we'll take the legs into fire logs position. So If you have the legs in a sukhasana position and this is really challenging for the knees or the hips, you're gonna stay right here and just breathe where you are. If you need extra support, use the bolster and the blanket to support you. If you want a little bit more, you're gonna take that leg that's in front, which is the left leg, and you're gonna pull it up and stack it over the right. So bottom right leg, top left leg. Good. As you're there, you may have this big space between your bottom ankle and your top knee. If that's the case, use your blanket. Good. If you can use the top left hand to just push down into that knee, you're gonna feel that outer hip stretch, so breathe with it. But it might get a little deeper while you're there. Good. Protecting the knees, we flex both feet so the toes are pulling into the center line of the body. And then we're gonna breathe here. So relax the shoulders, shake out the head and neck. Good. We're gonna keep the left hand on top of the leg, and then we're gonna reach the right hand out to the side, coming into a little side bend. So guiding the knee a little deeper as we come into that side bend. Keep pushing that knee down. And then option to reach that left hand all the way up and over. Notice if the whole knee and hip start to lift up off the floor. That's not what we want. We want to just get a nice long stretch, but keeping the outer knee and the outer hip grounded. Take about 3 or 4 more full breaths. Relax that bottom shoulder away from the ear. Maybe tilt and look up towards the ceiling or the sky. Very last one. And then we'll draw it in, back to center. Good, keep the legs just as they are. We're gonna take that right hand and cross it over the left knee. Reach the left hand behind you and come into a gentle twist. Good. So you're using that hand to push down gently into the knee as long as that feels safe for you. Reach up through the top of the head and then exhale deep and look over that back shoulder. 2 more complete inhales and exhales. When you're ready, we'll come all the way back to center. Good, extend those legs straight forward. We're gonna wiggle them out. And we'll go to the other side. So let's take our opposite leg under. That right leg is gonna come up and on top. And this may be very different. So again, if you have that space, use that blanket again to fill in that space. Or if you can guide the knee down with that right hand, go ahead and do that. Just check in here, flex the feet in, sit bones grounded, finding that length and space in the body. And then we're gonna start to take the left hand out to the side, continue to add just a little gentle effort to stay grounded through the outer right hip, outer right knee. Shake out the head and neck here, walk the fingertips out a little bit more. And then keep lengthening that knee down, hip down, and reach that right arm up and over. Good. We'll create length through the side of the torso, and then rotate, maybe look up. Finding the breath. One more big inhale. Exhale, we'll draw it back up. We're going to take that left hand, cross it up and over the knee. Good. Right hand moves behind. Nice big inhale, reaching you up. And then exhale, gaze over that back shoulder. Good. Soften through the belly as you twist here, just finding that space and ease through the torso. Very last one. And we'll come back to center. Great job. We're finishing up on our backs today. So we're going to grab our 2 blankets. Go ahead and lie back. I like to take my blankets and have them folded in half like we sat on to support the outer thighs and knees. But if you need more space, you can always fold them again and really tuck them under the hips. So bring them to both sides, and as you lie down, we're going to pull the knees into the chest. Good. Just rock side to side. Take a few moments to get settled. Option for a little twist if you want to go to one side and then the other. Just do whatever you need here for your body. And then as we start to relax, we're going to bring the bottom of the feet together. Let the knees start to fall open. Here is where we check in on the blanket. So we want to bring those blankets close enough so they're right under the outer edges of the hip. Even if the knee doesn't touch, the outer edge of the hip is supported. If neither are touching, fold the blankets enough so they tuck under the outer edges of the legs. Good. Take a moment to check back in on the shoulders. Roll the shoulder blades back down and under. Draw the chin slightly to the chest. And then reach those hands, palms facing up, out to the side. Here in this posture, we're letting go of effort completely. If it's challenging or you feel too much of a strain in the legs in this posture, just let the legs extend out straight. The idea is to come into completely effortless posture after the work and lengthening that we've done. We're going to drop into this space of stillness and ease with 3 cleansing breaths, letting go of any tension, stress, overwhelming feelings you're experiencing just that came up during class or throughout your day or week or month. Inhale all the way, sip in that prana, that life force. Open the mouth, let go what you don't need. Inhale. And one more. Dropping into that space of stillness. And you'll know it's time to come out of relaxation when you hear the bell. the surface of the body. Wiggling fingers and toes, rolling out wrists and ankles. Gathering the outer edges of the legs and bringing them together. And then one more time, we'll pull the knees into the chest, little gentle hug. Good, sliding your blanket out of your way to roll to one side. Take this opportunity here to thank the mind and body for the work that it's done. Knowing that you were in tune with the present moment, even if you needed to be reminded to be there. When you're ready, take that top hand, slowly and gently push your way up. Good, coming back to a seated position. You can sit up on your blanket or just on your mat. Good. We'll gather the hands to the heart center. Closing class today, acknowledging the work that you've done physically, mentally, to take a break from your other tasks, your other responsibilities, and just focus on you. And knowing that you can be more present, more aware, and more in tune when you go back to those responsibilities, tasks, and activities. The light in me honors the light in each and every one of you. Namaste. Thank you all. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel, Yoga on Main Online Studio. We will be back with more. Tell us what you think. Thank you.